Stop caring, start living. You know what keeps most people from living freely? It's not lack of money. It's not lack of opportunities. It's not even lack of talent. The greatest prison is caring too much about what other people think. So many of us walk through life carrying invisible chains. We dress the way others expect, speak the way others approve, and live a life scripted by society instead of one written by our own heart. And when we care too much, we shrink ourselves just to fit into boxes we were never meant to be in. Let me tell you this: the day you stop caring about opinions that don't feed your soul is the day you start living. True freedom isn't found in pleasing everyone. True freedom is found when you can look in the mirror and say, I'm proud of the life I'm creating, even if no one else understands it. Think about it. No matter what you do, people will always have something to say. If you succeed, they'll say you're showing off. If you fail, they'll laugh at you. If you stay quiet, they'll think you're weak. If you speak loudly, they'll call you arrogant. So why waste your precious life twisting yourself into knots trying to earn approval that will never be enough? Instead of caring about what they think, care about how you feel. Care about whether you're walking in alignment with your truth. Care about whether your dreams are alive inside you or whether you buried them under other people's opinions. Because the moment you stop caring, something magical happens. You begin to breathe deeper. You begin to laugh louder. You begin to take risks that once terrified you. And most importantly, you begin to live for yourself, not for the crowd. I want you to remember, you are not here to be perfect for anyone else. You are here to be real. You are not here to chase acceptance. You are here to create a life that feels right in your heart. So let today be the day you choose freedom over fear. Stop asking, what will they think? And start asking, what do I want to create? Who do I want to become? What kind of life sets my soul on fire? Life is too short to tiptoe through it, worrying about opinions that don't pay your bills, don't build your dreams, and don't give you joy. Stop caring. Start living. And when you do, you'll discover something extraordinary. Happiness was never out there in the approval of others. Happiness was always waiting inside of you. Caring too much about what others think is one of the heaviest chains you can wear in this life. It is invisible, but it is powerful enough to keep you from walking into your true destiny. When you are constantly worried about how people will perceive you, you give away your freedom piece by piece. You silence your own voice to make others comfortable. You shrink your light so it doesn't shine too brightly. You shape yourself into someone you are not, only to earn the approval of people who may not even care for you deeply. That, my friend, is a prison. And the saddest part of it is this: you hold the keys in your own hand, yet many people never unlock themselves. Think about how much energy we waste caring about opinions that change like the wind. One day people cheer for you, the next day they criticize you. One moment they admire you, the next they envy you. Living for their approval is like trying to catch smoke with your bare hands. You'll never hold it, and in the process, you lose yourself. What if, instead of exhausting yourself for their applause, you chose to walk freely, guided by your own truth? The truth is, people will always have something to say. If you succeed, they might accuse you of being arrogant. If you fail, they might mock you for not being enough. If you stay quiet, they might say you lack confidence. If you speak boldly, they might say you're too much. You see, no matter what you do, opinions will always circle around you. So the real question becomes, will you keep allowing those voices to define your life, or will you finally learn to define it for yourself? When you care too much about what others think, you hand over the steering wheel of your life. Imagine building your dreams, not because they excite you, but because you're afraid of what people will say if you don't. Imagine saying yes to things that drain you just to avoid being judged. That's not living. That's surviving in someone else's shadow. And that's exactly why caring too much is a prison. It limits your choices, it cages your spirit, and it robs you of the joy of living authentically. Authenticity means showing up as your real self, even when it scares you. It means speaking your truth, even when your voice shakes. It means choosing the path that feels right in your heart, even if others don't understand it. But how can you do that if your first thought is always, what will they think of me? The truth is, they're not thinking about you as much as you believe. Most people are busy thinking about themselves, their own struggles, their own insecurities. And yet here you are, holding yourself back because of their imagined judgments. When you break free from this prison, you'll notice a shift inside you. You begin to breathe easier because you're no longer suffocating under the weight of expectations. You begin to laugh louder because you're not worried about whether your joy looks silly to someone else. You begin to dream bolder because you finally give yourself permission to pursue what you truly desire. That is the power of letting go of other people's opinions. Ask yourself, whose opinion is stopping you today? Whose voice echoes in your mind whenever you think about taking a step forward? Maybe it's a parent who told you your dream was unrealistic. Maybe it's a teacher who made you feel you weren't smart enough. Maybe it's friends who laughed at your goals. Or maybe it's society whispering that you don't fit the mold. But here's the truth. You don't need to fit the mold. You were born to break it. You were not created to be a copy of anyone else. You were created to live your unique story. Every great person who ever made history had to break free from this same prison. They were criticized, doubted, and misunderstood. But they chose not to care. Not because they were arrogant, but because they understood that freedom is found in self-trust, not in approval. If they had lived for opinions, their names would have been forgotten. It was their courage to be authentic that made them unforgettable. So what about you? Will you continue to stay behind those invisible bars, or will you step into the wide open space of freedom? Remember, authenticity is not about being perfect. It's about being real. It's about choosing your path, your dreams, your joy, regardless of who approves or disapproves. And when you finally stop caring so much about what others think, you will discover that you never needed their permission to live. The only permission you ever needed was your own. You'll never please everyone. And the sooner you accept that, the freer your life will become. Because no matter who you are, no matter what you do, no matter how much effort you put in, someone, somewhere, will always have something to say about it. That's just how the world works. People will have opinions. They will judge. They will criticize. And if you make the mistake of chasing their approval, you will spend your entire life running in circles, exhausted, and never truly satisfied. Think about it. If you choose to follow your dreams, some people will say you're unrealistic. If you don't follow your dreams, others will say you wasted your potential. If you succeed, there will be whispers about how you got lucky, or how you changed, or how you think you're better than others. If you fail, they'll point fingers and say they saw it coming all along. If you speak up, someone will say you're too loud. If you stay quiet, someone will say you don't have a voice. Do you see the pattern here? No matter what you do, someone will find a reason to criticize. And if you try to adjust yourself to satisfy them all, you'll lose the very essence of who you are. The truth is, people's opinions are not about you. They are about themselves. Their comments, their judgments, their criticisms often come from their own insecurities, their own fears, their own limitations. Sometimes, when someone tells you that you can't do something, it has nothing to do with your ability. It has everything to do with the fact that they couldn't do it, and they can't imagine anyone else doing it either. Yet if you're not careful, you'll carry their fear as your own truth. Living to please everyone is a game with no finish line. You can work harder, give more, bend over backwards to meet expectations, and still, someone will find fault. And here's the hard part. Sometimes it won't just be strangers. Sometimes it will be the people closest to you, family, friends, colleagues, people you love. They may not understand your choices. They may not support your path. And if your goal is to please them all, you will never live a life that's truly yours. But here's what happens when you stop trying to please everyone. You begin to live authentically. You begin to walk in alignment with your own values. You begin to create a life that feels meaningful to you. And ironically, that's when you actually inspire others. Not because you tried to make them happy. Think of every great leader, every great artist, every great thinker who ever lived. Do you think they pleased everyone? Absolutely not. They were criticized, they were doubted, they were ridiculed. Some of them were even hated during their lifetime. But they refused to live small just to earn approval. They understood a truth that you must also accept. Pleasing everyone is impossible, but living your truth is powerful. So the next time you find yourself hesitating, ask yourself, whose opinion am I afraid of right now? And then ask, do they actually live my life? Do they carry my dreams? Do they walk in my shoes? The answer will always be no. They don't live your life, you do. They don't face your struggles, you do. They don't wake up with your vision, your passion, your calling, you do. So why hand over your peace to voices that don't even understand your path? Imagine the weight that would lift off your shoulders if you let go of the need to be liked by everyone. Imagine the freedom you would feel if you stopped apologizing for who you are. Imagine the energy you would gain if you stopped fighting battles to prove yourself to people who already made up their minds about you. That energy, that freedom, that peace, it's all waiting for you the moment you stop chasing approval. Here's the truth. Some people will like you, some won't. Some will celebrate you, some will criticize you. Some will believe in you, some will doubt you. And that's okay. That's not your problem to fix. Your only responsibility is to be true to yourself, to live in a way that feels right for you, and to keep moving forward regardless of the noise. When you stop trying to please everyone, you reclaim your power. You take your life back. You begin to live, not for the applause, not for the acceptance, but for the joy of being authentically you. And once you taste that freedom, you'll realize it was never worth sacrificing your truth just to make everyone else comfortable. The most powerful shift you can make in your life is turning your focus inward. For too long, many of us live with our eyes and ears tuned to the outside world. We wake up already wondering what others will say, how they will perceive us, whether they will approve of us. We measure our worth by the applause, the likes, the compliments, and in that process, we lose touch with the most important voice of all, the one inside us. When you spend your life chasing validation, you end up building a life that may look successful on the outside, but feels empty on the inside. You smile in pictures, but inside you ache. You achieve goals, but deep down, you know they weren't even your goals to begin with. They were someone else's expectations. And no matter how much praise you get, it doesn't satisfy your soul because your soul doesn't want to be praised. It wants to be honored. That's why the shift inward is so necessary. Instead of asking, what will they think? Start asking, how does this make me feel? Instead of asking, do they approve of me? Ask, am I proud of myself? Instead of asking, will they like this version of me? Ask, do I like this version of me? Because at the end of the day, you are the one who has to live with your choices. You are the one who has to look in the mirror. You are the one who has to close your eyes at night and rest with the life you are creating. When you focus inward, you begin to hear your truth again. And your truth is gentle, but firm. It speaks through your emotions, through your instincts, through the tug you feel in your heart when you're on the wrong path. How many times have you silenced that inner voice because you didn't want to upset someone? How many times have you ignored your intuition because you thought someone else knew better? And how many times have you regretted not listening to yourself? Your truth will never lead you astray. It may lead you on a path that others don't understand. It may lead you into uncomfortable decisions. It may even lead you to disappoint people who had expectations of you. But that discomfort is temporary. The regret of betraying yourself lasts a lifetime. When you choose their approval over your truth, you lose yourself piece by piece. But when you choose your truth over their approval, you gain a life of authenticity, peace, and fulfillment. The shift inward is not always easy. We've been trained from childhood to seek gold stars, grades, praise, approval. We've been conditioned to put on masks and play roles to keep others happy. So the first time you ask yourself, how do I really feel about this? It may be uncomfortable. You might realize you've been living on autopilot, chasing things that never truly matter to you. You might discover that the path you're on is not aligned with who you are. But that moment of awakening is a gift. It's the moment you get to choose differently. When you honor how you feel, life begins to change. You stop saying yes to things that drain you. You stop apologizing for having boundaries. You stop hiding your dreams because you're afraid of being judged. Instead, you give yourself permission to live in alignment with what lights you up. And here's the beautiful part. When you are aligned, you radiate a kind of joy and peace that no amount of external approval could ever give you. People may not understand your choices, but they will feel the power of your authenticity. Think of it like this. When you live outside in, you are like a leaf in the wind, blown in every direction by other people's opinions. But when you live inside out, you are like a tree, rooted and grounded, unshaken by every gust of criticism. The wind will still blow, people will still have opinions, but you will no longer be at the mercy of them. You will stand firm because your roots are in your truth. So the question is, are you willing to shift? Are you willing to take the focus off of them and place it back where it belongs? On you. Are you willing to live a life that feels good, even if it doesn't always look good to others? Because in the end, it's not their approval that will give you peace. It's your alignment with your own soul. And nothing in this world can replace that. Freedom is a beautiful thing, not the kind that comes from having money or status, but the kind that comes from within. The kind that comes when you no longer live your life trying to earn the approval of others. That kind of freedom is rare, but when you find it, when you stop chasing validation, stop waiting for permission, stop performing just to be accepted, you unlock a version of yourself that is powerful, unstoppable, and full of life. Seeking approval is like being on a leash you didn't even know you were wearing. Every decision you make, every step you take is controlled by the question, will they approve? And the moment you sense disapproval, you freeze, you shrink, you play small, because you've been conditioned to believe that acceptance equals safety. But what if I told you that true safety, true power, comes when you no longer need anyone's applause to feel worthy. Imagine what your life would look like if you no longer needed to be liked by everyone. Imagine how much energy you would have if you stopped trying to manage other people's perceptions. Imagine how bold your dreams could become if you were no longer afraid of being judged. That's what freedom gives you. It gives you the courage to be fully alive. When you stop seeking approval, something amazing happens. You start to laugh louder, not the polite laugh you give in a room to make others comfortable, but the deep soul-level laugh that comes from feeling at ease with who you are. You laugh because you're no longer performing. You're no longer pretending. You're no longer trying to hold yourself to impossible standards just to please people who may never truly see you. You laugh because you're finally free to be yourself, flaws and all, and you begin to dream bigger. Because now your dreams are no longer filtered through the question, what will people think? You're no longer building a life to impress. You're building a life that fulfills. You're no longer shrinking your dreams to fit someone else's comfort zone. You're allowing yourself to imagine possibilities that once felt out of reach. Because when you don't need approval, you don't need to play it safe anymore. And that's when the magic happens. You start taking risks, the kind of risks that lead to breakthroughs. You stop being afraid to fail because you understand that failure is just part of the journey. You stop waiting for perfect conditions because you know that growth doesn't come from staying comfortable. You stop holding back because you're no longer carrying the weight of everyone's expectations on your back. Freedom doesn't mean you won't face criticism. It means you'll no longer be controlled by it. It doesn't mean people will always understand your choices. It means you'll no longer feel the need to explain yourself to everyone. It doesn't mean you'll never feel fear. It means you'll feel the fear and still move forward. Because your desire to live your truth is stronger than your need to be liked. And the more you live in that freedom, the more you realize how heavy the need for approval really was. You start to see how much of your life was dictated by trying to please others. How many dreams you delayed, how many opportunities you turned down, how many times you silenced yourself just to fit in. And once you taste freedom, you'll never want to go back. The world needs people who are fully alive. People who are not afraid to laugh from the heart, dream with boldness, and take risks that shake the ground beneath them. People who live in alignment with their truth, even when it's inconvenient. People who no longer seek approval, but instead seek purpose, passion, and peace. When you stop seeking approval, you make room for authenticity. And authenticity is where your true power lives. It's where your creativity flows. It's where your courage grows. It's where your life becomes something that feels real, not just impressive. And that's when you realize the approval you were chasing all along was your own. And now that you have it, you are free. Happiness is one of the most misunderstood pursuits in life. Most people believe happiness is something you chase, something you find in the approval of others, in the applause of the crowd, in the recognition of society. But here's the truth. Happiness doesn't come from validation. Real joy doesn't start when others see your worth. It begins the moment you see your own. So many of us are trapped in a cycle of performing for love, bending for acceptance, and sacrificing for validation. We tell ourselves, if they like me, I'll feel good. If they approve of me, I'll feel valuable. If they clap for me, I'll feel successful. But that kind of happiness is fragile. It is temporary. It lasts only as long as the applause lasts. The moment the crowd is silent, you're left empty, waiting again for someone to fill you. That is not joy, that is dependency. Real joy is different. Real joy doesn't ask for permission. Real joy doesn't depend on who's watching. Real joy comes from within when you are living in alignment with yourself. It's the quiet peace you feel when you know you're on your true path. It's the deep laughter that bubbles up when you're being authentic, not performing. It's the pride you feel in yourself when you know you are creating a life that feels good in your heart, not just impressive on the outside. When you live for the crowd, you'll always be on a stage putting on a show. But when you live for yourself, you get to step off that stage and finally breathe. You get to enjoy life, not as a performance, but as an experience. And in that freedom, you discover that joy was never out there. It was always in here, waiting for you to claim it. Think about it. The people you seek validation from are human, just like you. They have their own struggles, their own insecurities, their own battles. And yet we hand over our happiness to them as if their approval has the